Sponsor an orphan, and you'll help support a vulnerable child to have the education they've always dreamed of, so they can build a brighter future. You'll be feeding a hungry stomach and a hungry mind with knowledge that will last them a lifetime. That's the power of an education. Sponsor an orphan now with Islamic Relief.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is your host, Preacher Moss, the host of the SOS, the Shout Out Show, coming to you on a Tuesday. I hope that everybody's having a beautiful start to the beginning of the week. It's so vital to get through Monday and Tuesday. It seems like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday always frame up nicely when we get out of the blocks early. So I want to give a couple quick shout outs. In fact, let me fix this. Boy, I'm bad today, boy. Satana, I am bad today. There we go. Let me fix that. Excuse me, everybody. Having some studio issues, but I'm fixing them as we go. Want to give a shout out to Roberta Flack, who is 85 years old. She's been diagnosed with ALS at 85 years old. She can no longer sing. They're saying that she's having problems just speaking. Just prayers go out to Roberta Flack, one of our classic icons in terms of R&B, songwriting. She's a fellow Washingtonian. She was an alumni at Mr. Henry's Jazz Club in Washington, D.C., and her work spans a long period of time in terms of the crafting, in terms of musicality, in terms of songwriting, and just being able to promote a vibe that has lasted for generations. So shout out to Roberta Flack. As many of you guys know, my good friend Usama Cannon, Ustad Usama Cannon, he also contracted ALS. It is a fatal disease, so I would encourage all of us to just make dua for her and her family. At 85 years old, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I don't want to say she's in the bonus round, but she's been blessed with longevity. But even still, the ALS is a very painful undertaking for the victim and also for the family. So we just want to be there for that wrap. And also want to take a short minute. I want to give a shout out to an old friend of mine, my friend Pedro Cavallo. I thought about Pedro today. Pedro is an old PR guy out in the UK. And Pedro reminds me of the importance of music, like people like Roberta Flack, people like LTD, and all of these people who wrote songs about the time and the emotions of the time. When we listened to Roberta Flack's song Killing Me Softly with his song, and then we heard Lauryn Hill sing it, you know, while it did have kind of a upswing beat to it, nothing, brothers and sisters, nothing. And let me say this clearly, she did not write that song. She covered that song, but she covered it in such a way that it was just a landmark. And I just want to give a shout out for artistry and to give a shout out to my friend Pedro Cavallo, who does PR work in the UK, but he still has that texture that is art. Okay. Our subject today, and it's not on here, it is reclaiming your spiritual narrative. It is reclaiming your spiritual narrative. Satana, can we just put that on the block maybe? Reclaim your spiritual narrative, because I did not do that. And let me explain to you guys why I don't have it on an overlay. I tried to put it on an overlay, but I was not able to figure out the issue of the transparency, and I got frustrated. And in the middle of being frustrated, I said, you know what? Wait a minute. Take a pause for peace. Take a pause for peace. And I was like, it's not the end of the world if I don't have an overlay on here. I said, you may think it is because aesthetically it looks like something, but it doesn't feel it. And I just asked Satana to make just a block. This is what we used to do. Satana, remember this is what we used to do for a Canva and everything? And I'm saying, you know, sometimes we complicate situations, scenarios, because we can't appreciate where we came from. Satana, apologize. I should have done this from the beginning. We didn't even have anything to do. I could have had it in the block. But you know what? We get tied up in the moment of thinking that other people are going to react a certain way if we don't have it, or worse, we're going to be judged because we're not providing these things. This is what I want to talk about today. It is about reclaiming our spiritual narrative, and I actually have reclaiming our spiritual narrative now. In the wake of the midterm and an impending announcement for Donald Trump that he's going to run for president in 2024, I feel the need that we need to reclaim something that the American voters did during the midterm, but also something that we need to do in our personal, our individual and collective lives, in terms of our families, our jobs, our communities, because this is something that's being lost. I'm going to tell you of a situation scenario that happened, and it made a lot of sense, but it took me a while to appreciate getting to that point to be able to make that decision. All right, let's go ahead and get started. I'll be right back. Welcome to the ShOUT Show. I'm Preacher Moss. All right, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about reclaiming our spiritual narrative now. Thank you so much, Satana. Satana picks these things up so quickly. That's why she's an executive producer. I want to expand on this, but I want to make sure that I want to recognize people that are very courteous and generous with their time, who come to the ShOUT Show day in, day out. They are the regulars, the ShOUT Show family, ShOUT Show soldiers. Please, Satana, let's bring them in here. Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Sister Reed, thank you for your kind words yesterday of condolences for my family and my Aunt Shirley. We appreciate you. Hope everything's going well in your house, in your tribe, in your collective. Big shout out to Derek. Big shout out to Brother Juwan. Peace and blessings be upon them all. Next up, all tough. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Affectionately known as Mr. 6 o'clock, Mr. Straight Up, Straight Down, a Canadian envoy to this show, my main man, all tough. Thank you again for supporting this platform. We appreciate you. And if we haven't said it enough, we're going to say it one more time. We appreciate you. Thanks so much. All right. Next up, my main man, Eric Carter. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, beloved. Cold out there in Houston, ain't it? Yes, sir. It is freezing. But you got to appreciate it because, Houston doesn't really get a lot of seasons. So appreciate it for this little 40s and 50s weather. Because what it is, it gets 20, it means that ain't no electricity in the state of Texas, but we want to talk about that. All right, much shout out, much love, Brother Eric. Next up, what's going on, big brother? Bilal Salahuddin. Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to you, Sister Sonia. Sister Sonia Dalton Salahuddin, appreciate you, man. Hey, man, stop making your grandson do all that work, man. I'm gonna call Child Protection Services on you. You got a 6-month-old trying to lay carpet. Oh, shout out, B. Appreciate you, man. Next up, trouble in the house. We got what's going on to my dear sister Rabina? How you doing? Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, my dear sister. I was in your town. I was looking for you to show up at one of the shows on the Penny Appeal tour, but I figured you were out doing wonderful and creative things. As always, our sisters from across the pond, it is a blessing to see you here on the show. God bless. Peace and blessings to you and your family. All right? And how can we forget our illustrious exec producer, Sister Satana Whitfield? Wa alaikum assalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, sending out greetings and salutations to ShOUT Show land. All right. So reclaiming a spiritual narrative now. Okay, let me give you this scenario that I had some time ago. And it had a little bit to do with when my father passed. I had a lot of work to do on this particular day. And you kind of look up, we all do this. You kind of look up and you go, how did I get here with all this work? Like you look at your desk and you go, it's just a ton of work. So Tom, this might happen to you. You look at your phone like, geez, how do I schedule all these meetings? Oh my goodness, I got a Zoom meeting, I got a class. And and I was getting to that point, and I did something I haven't done in years, brothers and sisters. I wrote down everything I had to do on a piece of paper. just a little strip of paper. I wrote down everything I had to do, and I pushed it into the middle of the desk. All the things I had to do, whether pick up laundry, da 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 da, and I pushed it all in the middle, and I made a big ball of it, and I threw it in the trash. And I said, all of these things I have to do, nothing says I have to do them right now. Nothing says that they have to be done today. And what I'm saying is that I was creating this weird sense of urgency, this weird energy that, oh my gosh, I'm in this frenetic pace that I can't step back and appreciate myself or administer much needed self-care. So today's topic about reclaiming our spiritual narrative, you know what I did after I balled that stuff up? I looked at my watch, I looked at my phone, I said, you know what? ShOUT comes in 5 minutes. It was nice to have wudu and not rush to ShOUT and be able to sit and center myself. And when I say center myself, I don't mean like I'm meditating. I mean just for a moment to be able to just align things and have them make sense. Why am I saying this? We just came through an election period, and I'm going to be honest, I really didn't know what the issues were. They were all over the place. It was abortion over here. It was voting rights over here. It was economy over here. It was inflation over here. It was crime over here. And I realized that much the same for a lot of you, we just bombarded with stuff. We're literally bombarded with stuff. And it becomes paralysis by analysis because we're not able to make this information overload, and very little of it, brothers and sisters, in the immediate moment, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes has anything to do with you. Literally, if I took the piece of paper and said, pick up dry cleaning and threw it away, and I don't pick up the dry cleaning, they're not calling me going, pick up your dry cleaning. Or the light bill is due in 3 days. You don't pay it today. They don't call you up and cut off your lights and saying it's due today. They're not doing that. And we have to, in many regards, detach ourselves away from parts of the world that, one, have no value to us, and number 3, are confusing. They lend themselves to confusion. We're not clear what people are talking about. But in that space of not being clear, the anxiety is so high, we feel like we have to make a decision. And here's where it comes to the point about our spiritual narrative. I've said this before, so pardon me being redundant. But I said at the beginning of when we even started the ShOUT show with COVID, I said we are entering a period, and it had more to do with Trump. I said that we're entering a period or continuing a period whereby we are spiritually and emotionally and mentally very unhealthy as a society. The collective was sick. And as you know, when the heart is sick, everything is sick. And this overabundance of information that has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It has nothing for increasing your happiness, increasing your joy, increasing your man. It has nothing to do with it. It becomes placeholders for stupidity and, sadly, self-loathing and self-hate. I don't like to use the word self-loathing and self-hate. And I'm going to tell you why. Because it makes you look around for the exact same thing, self-loathing and self-hate. Society, brothers and sisters, is a very interesting thing. We touched on the aspect of anti-Semitism. And I did that for a reason. And I saw a video, I have to finish watching it, with the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And he addresses it. He addresses that society, for some of us, many of us, has framed us in a way where our only outlets is that the door you go through it's cluttered. You have to be touched by the things in this closet or door you go through. And it is self-loathing and self-hate. And it's not necessarily yours. And so the whole idea of reclaiming your spiritual narrative is that people actively are trying to take it from you. We may willingly give it away, thinking that we're being good Muslims or good Christians or good Jews or good atheists. But people look for value in your spirit. And when they see value in your spirit, it's two things, it's two responses. Number one, I'm inspired. Number two, I'm led to conspiracy. I'm led to conspire about how I can get back. Too often, the story of happiness has been tied into what other people think. Sadly, we like likes and happy faces and emojis. I think probably one of the bane of this society is the emoji. Like you put a happy face or a sad face, and somehow that imbues that somehow expresses your happiness. It's foolishness. It's foolishness. When we were kids in elementary school and we did well on a paper, you remember how happy you would get when a teacher put a happy face on you, happy face sticker on your paper? Ooh, we got a happy face. And you would show that happy face. And your mother, ooh, my baby got a happy face. But here's the thing that the happy face didn't necessarily tell you. It did remind you of how well or how hard you worked to get that good grade. It didn't speak to the amount of sacrifice that sometimes your mom and your dad set up with you to go over problems and make sure you're ready for a test or double check your papers that you were turning in or correct your work. It didn't do that. What it gave you was a very instantaneous thing in a sticker, brothers and sisters, in a sticker. And here we are in 2022 that people tie their emotional and spiritual wellness to lights, to a happy face, to a sad face, to a heart, to a fist or a thumbs up. I mean, where are we with this type of thing? I don't mean to be critical, but if you are over 40, over 50, dig this. None of your real heroes in your space ever had social media, even in religion. Jesus didn't have Facebook. Oh, I got to wrap it up. Is the sound bad? Oh, okay, man. We're gonna need to take a break. Okay, let's go ahead and take a break. Hey, babies. Welcome to Radio WCUC, Convenient Urgent Care, home of the smart patient. This is DJ What It Do. You know what time it is. It's the top of the hour, and the request lines are open. You know what you want to hear. I know what you want to hear. Operators are waiting.
I just got to hear, don't get the COVID.
Don't get the COVID. Put your mask back on. The Delta COVID, more contagious than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get the vaccine. You know that it can keep you safe, and your people living up in your space. Don't get the COVID. You need to wash your hands. The Delta COVID is more deadly than before. Don't get the COVID. Go on and get your vaccine. You know that it can keep you from dying. Don't leave your family all alone and crying. Don't get the COVID.
We invite you to join our fight against COVID and against misinformation. It's time to listen to the doctors and trust the science.
When I think of people dying that don't have to die, it makes me sad. Now's the time to be sober. Together we can make this thing over. Let's fight the COVID. Convenient urgent care, home of the smart patient.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everybody. This is your brother, Preacher Moss. Listen, I have a special announcement. December 17th. That's right, December 17th in Dearborn, Michigan. Dearborn, Michigan. December 17th. I'm coming through with a special show of evening of comedy, jazz, and laughter, brothers and sisters. It's my special presentation, a gift to the Motor City. It's called, it sounded funny at the time. It's right here. Let me make sure it's spelled right. Yeah. It sounded funny at the time. Produced by my main man, Big Fresh, the Freaky. We're going to have an epic evening, and I'm asking everybody to come out. You know how we do, Detroit. I love you. You love me, man. Let's go show some love to one another. It's gonna be cold probably on December 17th, but you know what? We're gonna make it hot. Make sure it's going to be at the Fordson High Theater. Make sure you get your tickets early, because if you get them late, you're going to be outside. You're going to have to listen to the music and the jokes from the glass. All right, brothers and sisters, you guys have been tremendous. Remember, December, live in Dearborn, Preacher Mars. It sounded funny at the time. Check it out. So that's actually Dearborn, not Dearborn, just for everybody that can read. It's Dearborn, not Dearborn, right, Satana? I haven't fixed that one either. That's one of the pieces of paper I pushed in the middle, and I didn't fix it. Okay. December 17th, looking forward to being in the Motor City in Dearborn. It sounded funny at the time. I also want to give a shout out to my little brother JT. Peace and blessings to you and your queen, and all the queens in your life, and of course my nephews. Hope everybody's doing well. I think you guys got a little snow up there in Wisconsin. I think you got some flurries, so winter is on its way. So let me continue this thing about reclaiming our spiritual narrative now. Okay. Why is it so important? Why am I bringing it up? I'm bringing it up because there is now a market, if you will, that's growing, that is somehow addressing our spirituality. Let me say it again. There is a growing market that's out there that's meant to address our spirituality. Now, normally it would be okay. You know, you're not talking about candles and incense. People are suggesting modality for your spirituality. It's not dawah. It's not recruiting. It's not fishing. It's that there is I want to say, what's the word? A very clear, defined effort to make sure that the last thing that people can get from you is your spiritual awareness. Is that scary? I think it's very scary, because we have that in America. That, you know, Islamophobia back in the day was really bent on the fact that people wanted to find a way to affect worship, meaning that through fear and manipulation, that people can get you not so much to veer away from your God, but to somehow present doubt in terms of how you have a relationship with your God. If you're scared and you're praying, you can't be focused on your prayer or your salat if you're worried about somebody busting through your door. It's the same for the Black church. The Black church lived this paradox that Christianity provided protection and awareness and expression at the same time. It was the same thing that was used to keep them enslaved. Now, that may be a little bit extreme, but it may be even probably not even enough in context of what I'm saying. What I was saying before the break is, you think about it, all our spiritual heroes never had social media. They never had social media. Jesus didn't have Facebook. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, did not have Instagram. I mean, even the modern day heroes, Martin Luther King did not have Twitter. And what it has to do, largely, is understanding the merits of leading and loving people. Hold on a minute, I get some water. But it has a lot to do with the merits of leading and loving people. And when we talk about spirituality, particularly in this environment, in this time, there is a level or even legislation to crush it out, to take personal experiences, if you will, and somehow set up an apparatus to be able to legislate it. People tend to think that the civil rights movement was a political action. It was political activism. It was not. It was clearly about expressing spiritual need. Let me explain this, because it is explained to me, and I don't want to make sure I'm not screwing it up. But when you don't have anything, when people take away the apparatus for happiness, justice, success, when you reach down in the dirt, there has to be something there mentally, physically, and emotionally and spiritually. And what that is that somehow you have to reach in there and feel like there is growth when you don't see any. And our spiritual narratives, if we're correct, are so much about growth, are so much about evolution, evolving, that our problems don't overcome the excellence that's in all of us. That the things that are around us are not the things that the profundity is so deep that we can't see our way through. That the door is right here. And somehow with all these problems, we forget to put one foot in front of the other to go through the door. Now, sorry about my voice, everybody. So what I want to do here, because we only have like 3.5 minutes. What I want people to do, and I'm going to start doing this too, is write your thoughts out. Write your spiritual thoughts out. If you have a particular perspective on a bird that lands on a limb, what does that mean to you? If a drop of water falls into another drop of water, what does that mean to you? And the whole idea of being able to connect to the world in a different way, without buffers, without filters, but being able to look into your reality and talk about what your reality was. I earlier said I had all these things to do. I had this, I had that, I had these. What that had to do with other people's expectations. I was doing this for other people's expectations. There was a relationship. Sometimes, brothers and sisters, you have to engage yourself in things and do things and say things, and there's no cost of business. Yesterday, when we talked about aunts, I said, pick up the phone, call your aunt, call your uncle, surprise them for no reason at all. I called you just because you're important. Do that with yourself, though. When I say do that with yourself, step back. Every once in a while, I like to step back, maybe put my phone on pause or vibrate for 3 or 4 hours, and just let the world operate without me. You're going to find that the world is going to go on with or without you. I mean, with or without, that's the fact. And what we should do is not shriek from that, but we should find comfort in that. That somehow, when we are in the world, we are contributing to the point that I would say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an opportunity to have a break. That we leave things and we can come back to those things. That we're not overwhelmed by this whole idea of position or having placement or having presence. Sometimes invisibility is a godsend. I don't get to do it often. I know many of you don't get to do it, but I remember being lost as a kid for about an hour and a half. And I found out where I was going. But for that moment of trying to figure out where I need to go, where I turn, how I do this, and that, and I got back, it became a really, really beautiful, illustrious adventure. Think to yourself, when's the last time you had a good adventure? When I was over in the UK, I walked these gardens, and it was interesting because I had a connection with these castles and these mansions, because I started thinking about all the other people who had walked those gardens hundreds of years before me. What the gardens looked like back then. What were the idea? How did people express themselves spiritually back then? And I took umbrage, if you will, because I said, you know what? I don't do this enough. Spiritual narrative, or protecting or reclaiming spiritual narrative, is a part, brothers and sisters, of self-care. And you have to do it. You have to do it. So for today, write out, if you will. Write out. We have a comment from Sister Rabina. Can we put that up? She said, ensure your spiritual cup is always full. What's running over belongs to others. However, what is in the cup must not. That's what I'm talking about. Well put, Sister Rabina. That's why I like you on the show, Sister Rabina. You always bring that perspective. And she's right. I'm sure all of us feel that way, but she's 100% right. Yeah. And what spilleth over that cup is for other people, but what's in that cup is for you. All right, everybody. That's your shout out show today. Inshallah, we'll see you tomorrow. Shout out to my family, Danville, Virginia. Peace and blessings. Bethel family. Peace and blessings. Rest in peace, Aunt Shirley. See you guys tomorrow. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.